Looking back, I learned something from Dawson Trotman, who founded the Navigators, and he said that do the things that others won't do or can't do. In golf we have the golf shot. You want to hit it right in the center of what we call the sweet spot of a club. Like the club face is pretty large, and if I had a club here in my hand, I could show you this, but you want to hit that in the sweet spot. And, God knows our sweet spot. He created us, and He knows what it is. So my great plan for myself, thank God I didn't go that plan. It was like a big, so you do the things He wants you to do, not what you often want to do yourself, So do the things others won't do or can't do. So we started out, I thought, well, I could go to the University of Houston because I'm a golfer, and Rice University, and then later at Kansas University, and I could use my golf there to work with students, and I could reach students for Jesus, and this worked out great. And we met people there that were involved with the National Prayer Breakfast, and we had a big prayer breakfast with the student leaders on the campus, and we did what nobody had ever done on a campus in 1963, and overnight we were kind of well known, famous. Now we had one meeting, one breakfast, so now we're famous. People from Montana called. We had the same thing up there, and then we had about 20 states before we knew it wanting to have these student leadership things, and I was asked to come back to Washington, D.C. and work with students. And so I did. We moved to Washington, and basically now I'm learning a principle that's a really powerful principle, and it's you love God with all your being. Love Him with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And when He asks you to do something, just do it. Don't fight it. I can tell you it's not worth the time, because I've been a reluctant, obedient person. But as we obeyed the Lord, and He led us, up to Kansas, then back to Washington, and then He led us into arenas that we never dreamed we would be working with. We started working not only with students, but we've worked with the national leaders. We had students and leaders come together. At one time in Oklahoma State, we had over 50 national leaders with over 2,000 students, and so we did this, for 15 more years, and then close to 20 years, and I thought, well, there's other people could do this work. Others would do this work and could do this work and could do it probably as good as I could, and Lorraine could do it. So what is it that I could do that maybe others won't do and can't do? And it was golf. Back to golf again. And then it was very clear what I should do. Take the gospel to the world of golf. 50, 60, 80 million golfers in the world. Take the gospel to the world of golf. And fortunately, I got a job working with Ping Golf Club Company, and that ended up supporting our family, and we get into the world of golf. Peter, my son, goes over to Asia and to do some things with the Olympics, and he comes back. He'd been in China, and he said, "Dad, you got to go to China." Well, I had vowed when I was in college, I'm never going to the Far East. I'll never do that. And now Peter, my son, asked me to go to China because China's got a golf team, and they want all the help they can get, and it's a good deal, So, I might not have obeyed God all those years, but when your son asks you, that's another thing, So I felt like I gotta go. So we go over there, and on the way over, I read that the Secretary General, who at that time was a prime minister, Zhao Ziyang, was playing golf. And I thought, gee, that's really interesting. And I got a letter from Gerald Ford to talk about his tournament, and I went over there, and so I go back and I've got these ping clubs and give them to the president, and he takes them right out. He said, let's go out to the range, and I had the letter from Ford, and that really helped build a relationship there. And so we go out on the practice tee, and he's hitting the ball, and he's hitting way off to the right. Oh wow, this is not good for our company. So I said, when you come to the end of the ball, you got to turn these hands over like this, you know. And he hands me the club, and he says, you hit it, you know. I don't have my golf shoes on, you know, so. But it's no time feeling insecure. I grabbed the club. I've ended up teaching him golf. Spent 9 hours with him, and more than Lord Ambassador Lord, who opened up China with Nixon. He told us, he said, you know, we've been here for 30 years. He said, you've spent more time with the Secretary General than I have with all the people here, all the leaders in 30 years. And I thought, well, that might be one of the reasons that the Lord said, take the gospel to the golf world, because we get use our recreation, and we can have quite a bit of time with people. One story with him, I went with him to his Camp David. It was up in the mountains, and it was just a few of us there. No golf course. It was just a private thing, and so I had a good chance up there to be alone with him. And of course, the main reason we're there is to share the faith, but we have to be careful, very careful for his sake and our sake, that we don't get other people thrown out of the country that for sort of evangelizing. But I was told that I could share my story with them, and I did. I shared how Jesus had changed my life and given me a purpose. And I had a Bible that was given to me, and so I was able to share this with him. Unfortunately, he later I think it was the same year or the next year after that, was Tiananmen Square, and he was very pro-West and pro-free enterprise and progressive, and he went down and sided with these children and young people that were in Tiananmen Square. If you remember the big tank going through there, and he was down. He's the one that had the megaphone, and he was asking them to just quiet down, you know, and give this time and not want too much too soon. And anyway, his enemies took that as an opportunity to show the downsides of being too pro-West, I guess, and he was arrested. He died in a house room. So I don't know what happened to him, but we got to be friends with his daughter. I'm hoping that we'll be able to meet in heaven. Maybe there'll be a round of golf there. I don't know. Might be better than golf. In Alexandria, Egypt, and we meet these three Sudanese guys, and they had been in a war. And we didn't realize there was a war. And they said that, you know, there were thousands and hundreds of thousands, and it turned out there were over 2 million that had been either killed or displaced. And they were some of them were up in Egypt, in Alexandria. And so we went to church there, and we met this one guy named Gabriel, Emmanuel Gabriel. And so we heard their stories and how they were, you know, so fortunate to get out of the country, and they didn't even know if their parents were living. Lorraine's heart really went out to them, and mine did too, but not to the extent that hers did, because she kept corresponding after they came back, and we ended up helping Gabriel and helping his family get an education. writing for 2 or 3 years, and lo and behold, he had this dream of coming to the United States, and was able to become a refugee, get refugee status here in the United States. But Emmanuel was our guy, and we invited him to come back for Christmas. It was kind of fun having him because we had Emmanuel and Gabriel come and have Christmas with us. And we didn't realize then, but we were going to be his parents. And it was a wonderful relationship. He led us to others. And then David Teat comes up from Atlanta, Georgia, and it's not long before we meet Deng Chol, and then this guy named Thomas Teal comes, and his brothers, Quat and Angelo, and he brings his family, and we fall in love with these guys. Teal, we asked to come and live with us, and we ended up starting a house. We worked with the church, Greg and Mary Kay, and we start this home here for them, Livingstone, in partnership with Bay Area. So we start building a family, and our ministry mainly is to try to disciple these young people that are here, that are refugee status, orphans, deemed orphans. And we have maybe about 10 of them that come and live with us, and not all at once now. We had 4, and Lorraine and I were living with them for a year and a half. And then we had others come in. It's a great experience to live with these Sudanese. So now they want us to go over there, so we go over. We meet Dave Bowman, and then Greg and I go over, and we get involved with this hospital, and we put a well in there, and we decide, well, we're going to do this, and Greg's asked me to be an elder, so we're going to do this together. And we put this well in. We have them put the hospital together, and then we meet a guy named Stephen Matiang, and he has a vision. He wants to see a leadership center. He wants to see Sudan become independent. Our hearts go out to him, and he goes and shows us this ground. He has this acreage, and we go and pray on it. Nothing but brush, about, 10 acres or so. We pray for this land, and now you go there, and it's the mission garden of Christ. God has a mission for everybody. I didn't know what it was. And Lorraine and I don't want to be, put on a pedestal. We're not. We're ordinary people. We come from ordinary backgrounds or poor backgrounds. And God's just done this. It's just nothing of us. Now it's going back and looking back 60 years. And I had a desire in my heart, to be a missionary. But what happened is I ended up being a missionary for 60 years. I thought it was going to be a short-term missionary, like go on a mission trip or go for 2 years or something. But what a great trip this has been. This has been farther than I can imagine. It's been a great trip, great journey.